Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I'm a little delayed. I've been on a sneezing fit and I didn't want to sneeze on camera. So happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. Rich, there's got to be some way to fix this, not be sneezing and coughing on camera that y'all teach in the market, but I haven't learned that yet. So is there a trick?
It's called a cough switch.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
You push the button and you can do anything you want.
I love that. That's called stop video and mute here. Old school. Well, listen, glad to see everybody. And I know some people are jumping on. We're going to keep it brief. There's so much today, so much news to talk about that it's just depressing as hell, quite frankly. So we'll skip some of that stuff. But a lot of things to unpack. Couple, obviously, you've seen the cases. I'm not going to share my screen, but if you see the caseload at both Prisma and Lexington, and they've been really good about showing their numbers on putting them on social media and all. As of August 26th, which is yesterday, Lexington's got 195 COVID patients, 170 unvaccinated, and then Prisma has across not just Midlands but across the threshold, they have 436 hospitalizations and 26 breakthrough cases. So all within the 8 to 12% range of unvaccinated. So excuse me, 8 to 12% vaccinated. Anyway, just alarming. On that note, I have to tell you, I gave it some serious consideration this morning, just letting Todd Osberger take over the screen today. He did a video this week on you can get on their Lexington Medical Facebook page. But I will tell you, it's pretty alarming when you hear the CEO of a hospital say we're at a point. It's alarming, but it was a wake-up call for me to listen to Todd. So if anybody needs it, I've got the link, but it's on their Lexington Medical website, Facebook page. But the impact that it's having not only on staff, but also just the whole entire network. And so it's crazy. On that, my wife works at a hospital, and she had somebody had been a 25-year employee quit this week and is going to be a cashier at a grocery store because low stress. It's crazy. But we're going to see a lot of the labor issues continue, and I'll get to that in a second, but because of the stress that the hospital and the COVID's causing everybody. So anyway, vaccinations. That's the name of the game today. Let's talk about some good news. I'm going to switch off that. We had our South Carolina Leadership Exchange with Greenville and Columbia this week. It was really fascinating. We had great speakers. We appreciate everybody's time that one, participated, but two, that actually helped us. We had Graham and Tim Scott, and my neighbor Jim Clyburn joined us, as well as Nancy Mace. By the way, if y'all didn't see the Twitter feed of Jim Clyburn yesterday telling off some protesters, it was hilarious. It was right outside the office. Only Jim Clyburn way of doing it. Telling that he's more progressive than any damn one of them out there. So it was hilarious. Check that out. It was fun. But anyway, but he was able to join us, talk about rural broadband. But we had some great presentations. Joey Von Nessen from USC, economist. But we also had a Chase Bank economist out of New York. It was really fascinating to hear the overall state of the economy, because we see it, right? I mean, we're in a bubble here in South Carolina. We know the economy's been good. So many people moving here, census numbers good, et cetera. But really talking about the overall state of the economy and how the markets have fared far better than anyone has expected. I mean, the amount of money that's in the market right now is so much higher than the GDP, which should be somewhat alarming. But more importantly, talking about supply chain issues and labor, and those things are not, one's short term, one's long term. The supply chain issues that have impacted everybody from construction to the cars, manufacturing, everything. The supply chain issues that are out there are going to be worked there. Those things will work through the remainder of this year. We've got a major problem with labor, and that's going to take years to recover. And we're seeing more people, according to the Chase economists, more people retire at a faster clip. A lot of that has to do with the marketplace. I mean, the market has done so well. People feel like their 401ks are doing great. They've got more retirement income than they thought they would have, so they're going to leave early. One, they don't want to go back into the hassle of COVID mess with offices, but two, stress, or three, they're just tired of working and they got plenty of money. But the bottom line is the supply chains will take care of themselves. Labor is another story. And we talked about this a little bit last year, but no one predicted a labor shortage now. We all knew the labor shortage would come in 2025, 2026. And for those not aware, back when we had in the Great Recession, birth rates dropped dramatically. And so fast forward 17, 18 years, when those kids graduate high school, you're going to see a labor dip. At the same time, you've got baby boomers that retiring as well, with number of birth rates declining. So we all knew this was inevitable, but it's happening now. And so, which is why we're seeing restaurants go 2 days a week. They're going to be closed for 2 days a week. You're seeing long lines at every place you go because of labor. And that's not going to get any better for a while. So we've got to figure that piece out. I think it's imperative for folks that like Chuck that work in the higher ed arena, especially the technical college system, that we're going to have to figure a piece out. What does that do for cost of goods? It's driving inflationary cost, but having a workforce available and trained to one, keep up with manufacturing, but logistics and supply chain issues as well. It's something that we're all going to have to grapple with, not just in South Carolina, but on a national level. And this may be able to be the reason we can push some immigration reform through. I mean, I think that's one of the things that the economist said is dire right now, is that we address immigration to allow us to get back some of that workforce that we just don't have right now. So anyway, I won't dwell on it, but for those that signed up, there was a great recording yesterday online for that economist. I learned a ton, but short-term problems, supply issues fixed sometime next 3 to 4 months. The economist didn't. Last thing I mentioned, he says anecdotally, he was flying out of California a couple weeks ago, or last week, and there were 50 ships out at Long Beach that waiting to dock. That just the supply of the shortage of workers at the docks in Long Beach were backed up. So think of 50 big boats out there waiting to dock, and that's just going to take us a while to get through. But anyway, but other good news on the economy. BIA issued, they did not have a meeting yesterday, but they released some numbers late yesterday afternoon. We are within 1.5 percentage points of unemployment, of labor unemployment, than we were pre-pandemic, which is not bad. But more importantly, I don't know if y'all know this, the general fund of South Carolina, 1.296 billion more than they thought they would have. That's a heck of a lot of money. That's just receipts. That doesn't include the federal dollars that's coming from the state as well. So we're talking $3 billion they got to spend more than what they had. It's just mind-numbingly crazy. Put it in perspective, the entire discretionary budget of the 15 years ago was $4.5 billion. of the entire state budget. And we're getting almost $3.5–4 billion in extra revenue this year is crazy. I know where they need to spend it, on infrastructure, right? Broadband, those are good things. I was really excited to see MUSC, it was in the paper this morning, making a pitch for more money for mental health. I do think that that is a very much needed place for some revenue. One, it's been underfunded for years, but two, all of us in the business community, we see it on the faces of our workforce that we need more money for mental health. So hopefully that goes through, but they got to contact your legislator. That's a lot of money that's going to be put in the system. All right, we got some new faces. I'm going to cut and see what's on people's minds. I'm going to put people on. Let me just give, let me look at chat, see if there's anything. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Before I put anybody on the spot, anybody got a comment for today? All right, Reese, I'm putting you on the spot because I know you don't mind. Crazy news this week. You got employers that are going to be charging unvaccinated folks more money for healthcare. You got some that are saying that from an HR perspective that if you're unvaccinated, you have to use PTO, personal time off, if you get sick. If you're vaccinated, get sick, you don't. So different. Blue Cross Blue Shield announced they're paying employees to get the vaccination. What do you see anything crazy, Reese, in the insurance world other than that?
No, Carl, you're right about Blue Cross. They are paying they're paying their employees a nice sum for sharing their that they've been vaccinated. Blue Cross has kept a lot of people through this process. They've kind of kept them out of the limelight and, you know, really following the guidelines, if you will, for the most part, with keeping social distancing and trying to do that. Do I see anything crazy out there? You know, the whole healthcare world right now is kind of spinning around from the whole, you know, the change with what is happening with ACA. And if you guys aren't aware, the individual mandate, when we went through and we passed this this last bill, they expanded the tax credits for individual ACA. So what that's done, the good part is individuals that don't have coverage out there, your salary now, you had caps on your salary that were out there that got subsidies for that and work with that. They've moved that up again. Now they've moved that higher. So now you're, and I won't say higher income, but a segment higher has now started getting health insurance coverage. So that, from a business perspective, what it's done is it's made individual small businesses scratch their head and say, do I offer coverage or as a group, or do I raise wages on those employees and tell them to go out to the individual marketplace and purchase insurance? So the difference in that, as a business owner, you can write off those expenses as a benefit, and you can use that as a competitive advantage in today's workforce to hire people. We're talking about labor shortage. You use that to help hire people, or you can raise your wages and just make sure you keep it in that subsidy conversation and try to look at it from that perspective. So that's some of the business impact, Carl, that we're having out there. But from an individual impact with the COVID, I mean, we're seeing the same thing everybody else is. There's no silver bullet. Nobody knows what's the right thing out there. We're just trying to do what we can. Open enrollment's coming up in October. November, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that virtually or over the phone, or those that need help, how are we going to be able to help them?
Great. Thanks very much. Hey, Vince is, I'm going to try to, I don't know if Vince is able to, I see Vince Ford on here. Vince, thank you to Palmetto Health, Prisma, sorry. You knew what I was talking about, for putting their dashboard up, good numbers, at least good data for us to see. So thanks to your team, the communications team at Prisma for doing that. There he is.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing fine. Y'all hanging in there?
Yeah, it's a pretty tough time for those of us in healthcare, particularly those on the front line. Obviously, we have been for years hearing about burnout, but we're starting to also hear about frustration, some anger that we probably, and I'm not speaking of Prisma, I'm speaking of healthcare in general, could have been out of this predicament if more people would have considered getting the vaccine. More people would consider not opposing the mask, and more people would have respected the issues related to this deadly virus. We have people in hallways. I was listening to something this morning of the CEO in Houston who said that ambulances are waiting outside 4.5 hours with people with heart attacks because they're so busy with COVID. That hasn't happened here, but that's not out of the realm, to be honest with you. So there's some real concerns, and we hope that people will, this is Ford talking personally, by any means necessary, do what needs to be done to get people vaccinated so that we can have some relief on our healthcare providers and our healthcare system.
Yeah. There's a lot of stress. Before you jumped on, Vince, I acknowledge that you're seeing people, veterans of the hospital system, leave just to take a less stressful job, and they're tired. They're at a. It's alarming, quite frankly, the number of folks that are just at the breaking point. And Osberger acknowledged that on a podcast this week, but I see it every day with my wife at the hospital, or hear about it. It's a scary time there, no doubt about it. So thanks to the frontline workers, we appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so right. People are making decisions now about their future and if they want to stay in healthcare. So that's very concerning. And so you're right. I saw Todd Osberger's interview, and the things that are going on in Lexington County are happening in Richland County as well. We've got some tough times ahead. We've got to buckle down and make sure that we make the right decisions to keep our community healthy and safe.
Yeah, I will tell you, I thought I'll try to get Anna to post that on our, if we can repost that on our website, Todd's interview. One, I thought it was so good, and he was not just talking Lexington. It was a broader, to your point, Vince, it was really about the state of healthcare today, this week, and where they are as a system and as an industry. So it's worth I think it's a 7-minute interview or something like that, but totally worth the time. So, all right, what else is going on? What else we need to hear about today?
Hey, Carl, this is
Lynn Hutto.
Good morning, everybody. Before we move on, and since we have Mr. Ford here with us this morning, we talked last week about how we could help those frontline workers. And I was wondering if we could pose that question to Vince and any other hospital administrator or worker or associate on this call, since we had it last week and we were kind of at a loss at how we could help. And I think we came up with, why don't we ask you guys?
Yep, Vince, that's it. So
Lynn, that's a great question and a great comment. And there are a lot of different ways, but here's what I think. Number one, we would encourage people to get vaccinated. That's yourselves and everyone else in your space. Right. Number two, we would encourage you to have a family conversation. Even if you started just with your family and have family conversations, because you can imagine that there are people in our families that have not been vaccinated, and they're using all of the reasons that they want to use to not be vaccinated. And you can by having those conversations, you can dispel some of those myths. Number three, we would ask that if you do if you are vaccinated, take a picture of it and share it with other family members. And you be the influencer in your family, because what we found historically is, at least over the last few months, the way that the virus has been transmitted is from family member to family member. That's why we think this is an important strategy. And then the fourth thing I'll share, and there are many others, but I'll stop with this and let others speak. The fourth thing is, don't speak negative about the vaccine. What we're finding is people are going out and they're saying negative things, and as a result, they're stopping others from considering getting the vaccine. What we've said to people, if you are not interested in taking it, we understand, and we can appreciate that to a degree, but make a decision in your own enlightened self-interest, but try not to stop someone else from making a decision that's best for them or their family. So those are some of the things that I think. And then finally, thank a healthcare provider, particularly those on the front line. They are really challenged right now and struggling through this process.
And Vince, I think that's where our question was. I think someone brought up the fact that they were struggling. And from the standpoint of them being overworked and having their own families and things to take care of, is there any way that the community can support those workers in some kind of way?
Yeah, there are. I mean, you know, just the normal thank yous is it goes a long way. You know, previously people have, and they're going to discourage of this right now, sent food items and gift items to the hospital. They really don't want that right now and don't need it, because they don't need anyone from the outside coming in. But again, you know, without repeating it, just go back to those things that I talked. If we could relieve the burden of the responsibilities that they have, that's the biggest way to thank them and appreciate the work that they're doing, because they want to get out of the hospital and take care of their families and eventually go on vacation and do those kind of things that normal families do.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Lynn, this is Reese McCurdy again. Can I throw something out? My wife is a school nurse, and not in the healthcare, not in the hospitals per se. But one of the things that I say that we need to do to help, and I'll talk about her specifically, but I think this is out there, is we need to understand that the people in the school nurse situation, she has to follow DHEC guidelines and the hospital guidelines and communicate those. And one of the things she runs into are personal attacks from parents that are not happy with the DHEC guidelines and those kind of things. So my statement to you is more of, okay, the hospital personnel, all of us are trying to follow the guidelines that we've got in place to help make us healthy. Let's support those. And that goes to what Mr. Ford's talking about as well, is let's be supportive of that, and at least don't talk down about those guidelines, and support those healthcare people that are following those.
Thank you.
Yep. Very good point. Very good point. All right. What else we got? I got one more thing before I forget. Bill Kirkland sent me something, asked me to share on social for the chamber, but they're doing a survey for what's the ecosystem like for cyber security in South Carolina. This is helping the governor and Department of Commerce, USC, as they look at the fast growing cyber economy that's happening in Augusta. More importantly, I think we've all been seeing the ramifications of cyber attacks up and up and up. I know we've been hit a couple of times, and I know many others have as well, but we're going to send a survey out, and I would really encourage y'all to take it. Let me see if I can get this. By the way, I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world. I know this is y'all going to think this is crazy, but I'm going to put a survey in the chat box. So if y'all have an opportunity to fill it out, it'd be great. But on behalf of Bill Kirkland, and please somebody tell him I did this so he'll get off that. I don't do enough for him is what he says. But anyway, this is a survey that he's put on for Department of Commerce. All right, what else we got? I'm about to call somebody else out, and I hate to do that. You know, I don't really hate it, but anyone? Pam Green's laughing. Pam,
I knew when I laughed, maybe you might call on me. So,
good morning.
good morning. Good
What's
morning.
going on?
For those of you who may not know, I'm with the assistant manager with the Office of Small Business Opportunity with Richland County. And I know we've talked a lot about community health and safety and the state of the economy. So the part that the office is doing is on September the 8th, we're going to actually have a crisis preparedness summit for our small businesses. I believe Anjanette has actually put that in the chat box. But part of what we're trying to do, you take into consideration labor shortage, all this is impacting small businesses as well. But we want to make sure that our businesses are kind of lining themselves up financially. It's a lot of uncertainty going forward. So in the summit on September the 8th is virtual, but we'll have several industry leaders and professionals to talk about the financial preparedness, ways that maybe small businesses may need to pivot given the uncertainty of the economy and small business, along with just how do we forecast what we need to do as a small business going forward. So anyone with dealings with small businesses, if you will, please share the link that Anjanette has provided in the chat. But that's kind of our small part right now. We have a number of series that will be coming up the latter part of this year, which will keep everyone in the loop as well.
All right. And that's not a shameless plug. That's a good plug. So thank y'all for doing that.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, Chuck, I want to publicly apologize for, we did cancel an event last night or postpone it till November. Chuck didn't check his email, but I apologize, but glad, thanks for thinking about us. And sorry, I couldn't have a beer with you, but we'll do it again in a couple of months. But we are looking at events on an individual basis right now and trying to do as much as we can virtually. We don't want to add to the chaos out there. So we'll be back in person soon, I hope, but I do think it's best if we be a little bit conservative right now and with our decisions, especially with the number of companies that are postponing or not going back in yet. They're showing caution right now, so I think we're going to do that as well. So, all right.
Carl, I'll have you know that I represented Midlands Tech and the Chamber very well on yesterday. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. I hope this is the last weekend before college football starts. So I hope everybody enjoys it. We'll be thinking about the good folks of Gulf Coast this weekend as they look like they're going to get a storm coming through on Sunday. Anyway, y'all be safe. Enjoy the weekend. I really appreciate y'all joining us today. And thanks for the good feedback. And we will see y'all next week. Okay. All right. See you.
Have a
Be
good
safe.
weekend, everybody.